Okay, praise the Lord. Okay, as you see, I didn't tag anybody. Basically, I'm tired of kind of wrestling with it. I should be able to tag, I think, 50 people, and actually, Facebook just don't let me do that. And so I'm going to, at least this one, I'm not going to tag anybody, because basically, to be honest with you, everybody knows I do these videos. And I usually let everybody know at least that day before, or the day before that, or sometime before, and let people know. So it's not like people don't know that I'm doing it. And so really, that all you need to do is just look for it, because it'll come on your timeline. Usually they do, if you do videos, or it'll, because they do on mine, it'll come up, such and such is going live and stuff. So I know that the notifications comes up. So I'm going to, at least this one, maybe all the others too, I don't know yet, not tag. So anyway, as you see, the title is Deborah and Jael, Women of Great Valor, meaning women of courage. Now see, here's the thing. I'm going to read the whole chapter, but let me give you a little bit of history of this chapter before I start reading it. See, this right here was when the children of Israel did evil in the sight of God, which they did a lot, and every time they didn't have somebody ruling over them, and the Jab and the king of Canaan became their ruler, ruled over them with iron fist and stuff. And Sisera was the captain of the army of that and stuff. So Deborah, a judge and a prophetess, let me get this to you too. A judge was somebody that had leadership, had authority over the people, in the sense of like governing the people. So she had authority on a government level as well as a spiritual level as a prophetess. So she called Barak over and basically told him, you know what, God says to go and fight this army and that you're going to win. Well, Barak said, well, I'll go, but only if you go. Well, Deborah said, okay, I'll go with you. But it's not going, the victory's not going to be handed to you. Which means it's not going to be handed to you, it's going to be handed to a woman, which was Jael. Now, I'm going to read the scriptures and stuff, and my point of it is, and I might get further into it as I go, is that God can call any vessel. He can use any vessel for his purpose. He can use a woman to defeat an army. He can use a man to cook and clean. He can use who he chooses to use and where he is. And yes, there are traditional positions that we hold, but God can take that out. God isn't limited to working in the box. As a matter of fact, he's not limited to even having a box. He could just toss that away. So here's the thing. Let me read this. And the children of Israel again did evil in the sight of the Lord when Ehud was dead. And the Lord sold them into the hand of Jabin, king of Canaan, that reigned in Hazor, for the captain of whose host was Sisera, which dwelt in Harosheth of the Gentiles. And the children of Israel cried unto the Lord, for he had 900 chariots of iron. And 20 years he mightily oppressed the children of Israel. And Deborah, a prophetess, the wife of Lapidoth, also judged Israel at that time. Now, like I said, judge was like she had authority in the government. Their idea of government, because the judges were the ones who ruled over Israel before there were kings there. And she had that authority, not over just women or children. She had it over the men too. Not only that, she was also a prophetess. Now, a lot of people I've read, sometimes I'll go and Google and look up the scriptures, how people explain or teach it. And some people say that the prophetess meant that she was the wife of a prophet. Well, it doesn't say that. It says that she's a prophetess. And that's what I'm going to go by. So she was a prophetess. And so she's prophetess has authority in the body of Christ, in the fivefold ministry. So there you go, a female with authority. And she dwelt under the palm tree of Deborah, between Ramah and Bethel, in Mount Ephraim, and the children of Israel came up to her for judgment. And she sent and called Barak, the son of Abinoam, out of Kadesh Naphtali, and said unto him, Hath not the Lord God of Israel commanded, saying, Go and draw towards Mount Tabor, and take with thee 10,000 men of the children of Naphtali and of the children of Zebulun? She's asking him, had not the Lord God of Israel commanded? So that kind of leads you to think, God had already dealt with Barak. He's already told him, this is what I want done. So obviously Barak was kind of hesitating. Barak was sitting there, dragging his feet. So the Lord talked to Deborah and said, look, tell him, get on to him about this. Tell him that I said, and I will draw unto thee to the river of Kishon Sisera, the captain of Jabin's, and I will draw unto thee to the river Kishon Sisera, the captain of Jabin's army, with his chariots and his multitude, and I will deliver him into thine hand. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But see, let's go back up on 7 now. She was telling him the Lord's going to draw Sisera to a certain place. And then in that certain place, God was going to deliver Sisera and the army of Sisera into his hands. Right there is where that Barak was going to defeat Sisera and his army. Now, he does defeat the whole army, but Sisera was not defeated by Barak himself. And Barak said unto her, If thou wilt go with me, then I will go. But if thou wilt not go with me, then I will not go. So right here's Barak saying, I need you with me. Now, Deborah is a woman. Granted, she was a judge. Granted, she was a prophetess, but she was still a female. So we all know that that women are considered the weaker vessel. But we have to understand something. Weaker does not mean weak. So he seen some strength in Deborah, some type of power, and we know that was the Holy Ghost, we know that was God, seen power that he knew that her presence would help that. But see, I don't think God liked the fact that Barak had faith in God, but Barak obviously didn't have enough faith in himself, so he could not do it without Deborah there. Maybe Deborah was a crutch for him, who knows. But the thing about it is, the army was still defeated. We'll get to that. And Barak said, okay. And she said, I will surely go with thee. Notwithstanding, the journey that thou takest shall not be for thine honor. For the Lord shall sell Sisera into the hand of a woman. And Deborah arose and went with Barak to Kadesh. And Barak called Zebulun and Naphtali to Kadesh. And he went up with 10,000 men at his feet, and Deborah went up with him. Now, I'm going to tell you, if you read the Bible, you know that God had a habit of taking a small army to defeat a large army. God never took more, or at least the army, the ones I've read, the battle, or the majority of the battles, God never took a major amount over. Like with Gideon, I think it was 300 men that he defeated a large army with. So 10,000 sounds like it's a lot, but the way God does things, it may not have been a third of what Sisera had in his army. I'm not saying that is right, but I'm just saying, but by the history that God, with the way God fought and stuff, he can take very little and still defeat a large army. He can take the smallest amount and bring the strongest man down. Now Heber the Kenite, which was of the children of Hobab, the father-in-law of Moses, and pitched his tent into the plain of Zanaim, which is by Kadesh. Now the father-in-law of Moses, and back in, I think it's Exodus, Deuteronomy, and places like that, they called him Jethro. And they showed Sisera that Barak the son of Abinoam was gone up to Mount Tabor. And Sisera gathered together all his chariots, even 900 chariots of iron. Now get this, the children of Israel did not have those chariots. So you would think that the army of Jabin, Sisera's army, would have had an advantage because they had state-of-the-art weapons and everything just during that time. You know, it'd be kind of like somebody fighting and canoe riding horses, and another person coming in with tanks and all that, and jets and all that stuff. Now you would think that, you know, the person that has top technology would be able to defeat somebody like that. But when you're talking about when God fights for you, that's not the case. And all the people that were with him, from Harosheth of the Gentiles unto the river of Kishon. And Deborah said unto Barak, Up, for this is the day in which the Lord hath delivered Sisera into thine hands. Is not the Lord gone out before thee? So Barak went down from Mount Tabor, and 10,000 men with him. And the Lord discomfited Sisera and all his chariots, and all his hosts with the edge of the sword before Barak. So that Sisera lighted down off his chariot and fled away on his feet. I'm going to tell you, I'm going to stop right here to tell you, when God is fighting your battle, you don't have to worry about how strong the enemy is. You don't have to worry about what kind of weapons the enemy uses. You don't have to worry about how many there is. All you have to do is have faith in God and obey his direction. But Barak pursued after the chariots and after the host unto Harosheth of the Gentiles, and all the hosts of Sisera fell upon the edge of the sword, and there was not a man left. Now here's the thing, Barak defeated the army and destroyed every one of Sisera's men. But remember earlier, Deborah prophesied that he would not get the honor, that it would go to a woman. Howbeit, we're getting ready to say that without that woman. Howbeit, Sisera fled away on his feet to the tent of Jael, the wife of Heber, the Kenite. For there was peace between Jabin the king of Hazor and the house of Heber the Kenite. And Jael went out to meet Sisera. And now listen to this. Her husband was at peace with Jabin. So he obviously liked Jabin. But maybe Jael was actually a child of God, and it could discern that the king Jabin was not righteous before God, and that he was doing wicked against the children of Israel. And she knew he had to be stopped, regardless of the friendship her husband had with him. And Jael went out to meet Sisera, and said unto him, Turn in, my lord, turn in to me, fear not. And when he had turned in unto her into the tent, she covered him with a mantle. And he said unto her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water to drink, for I am thirsty. She opened a bottle of milk, and gave him drink, and covered him. Again he said unto her, Stand in the door of the tent, and it shall be, When any man doth come and inquire of thee, and say, Is there any man here, that thou shalt say no? Now he earned his trust because he and her husband obviously had a good friendship going. She earned his trust. Of course, she's a woman, so who would think a woman could overpower a man, right? And he was tired. He was battle-worn. So a little bit of milk, covering him with a blanket or mantle, and getting him nice and warm, he went right off to sleep. So here's the thing. She weakened the enemy. Is there any man here? Oh, okay. Then Jael, Heber's wife, took a nail of the tent, and took an hammer in her hand, and went softly unto him, and smote the nail into his temples. Now, this is a tent nail. This isn't like a nail you hammer into a wall. This is a tent nail. And she hammered it. Now, I've looked this up, and back in those days, it was the women who usually put the tents up. So this is not something that was unusual for her. She knew how to hammer that nail. She'd probably done it many times with that same tent or with other ones. You know, so this is something that was normal for the women back in that time to do. Simple. And fastened it unto the ground. For he was fast asleep and weary, so he died. And behold, as Barak pursued Sisera, Jael came out to meet him, and said unto him, Come, and I will show thee the man whom thou seekest. And when he came into her tent, behold, Sisera lay dead, and the nail was in his temples. So God subdued on that day Jabin the king of Canaan before the children of Israel. Now here's the thing. Here's what I think the reason that she got the honor instead of Barak. Number one, Barak killed the men under Sisera. But if Sarah had lived, he could have raised up another army and maybe even had more, or worked to have more of those chariots of iron and more trained and harder training to come back at the children of Israel. See, we know that there's an old saying, if you want to hurt, you cut the head off to destroy the whole body. Once you cut that head off, it's going to be harder. And Sisera was the head of that army. So, by taking him out, that made it easier to defeat Jabin, the kingdom of Jabin. So by her doing that, she cut the head off of that snake. She took down the head. So it was harder for them to be built up, because look, they would have to have trained a new leader. He would have had, because these leaders, you know, and even in here in the United States, and you don't have to know a lot about military to know that you have to not only have the training, but also the experience. And most of the time, you ever heard of a general that just came in there a week later, just got out of basic training, and they become a general? No. They have to grow in experience and everything. So they would have to go through all that. And by that time, Israel could actually increase their army and increase their knowledge and everything, their military things and everything. So by cutting off that head, she not only helped defeat and free the children, defeat Jabin and Sisera, but she also made it possible to give them time. And we know this was God doing it, but we know that it was, we know that God was doing it all and everything. So, but she was a willing vessel, and by using her, God made it possible for them to get free from Jabin and Sisera and make sure that army never regained its fortitude to come up against Israel. And the hand of the children of Israel prospered and prevailed against Jabin the king of Canaan, until they had destroyed Jabin king of Canaan. Now here, why did I say this was women of valor? First off, they had to have courage. Let's go with Deborah. She said, I would go with you. Now, I don't know if Deborah knew if Deborah was a warrior. I don't know if she had any type of military training. I don't know anything about that. But whether she did or not, she was willing to go. She was willing to go right in the midst of the battle, right along with Barak. She was not afraid to do so. She had no fear to do it, so she went on in there. Now, Jael, now here's the thing. We know he was tired. We know that he trusted her. We know that she gave him milk and put a blanket on him. But see, he was military. So, honestly, he should have been leery of all things. But see, here's the thing about it. She could have been taking the chance of him waking up right when she was getting ready to hammer that nail. He could have sit there and just pretended like he was asleep. But she knew that he trusted her husband, and she knew he was tired. And all this, and she was still taking a chance. So she was putting her life on the line to destroy the enemy of the children of Israel and the enemy of God. So they both, and honestly, even if Deborah had military training or anything, I don't know if they did that with women back then. I'm not going to say whether they did or not, but even if she did, she could have still been killed in the midst of the battle, just like any soldier out there, just like even Barak could have been. But she still went, and she showed no fear. And the words that I read, what she said to Barak, I had seen no fear. Now, am I saying that should be done all the time? It depends. Now, Deborah sounded like she was confident, and that shows me that God was leading her there. So, here's the thing. These two women helped to destroy the king of Canaan and that army. See, they took leadership. They took authority. They took control over the situation. They stepped up and did what needed to be done. So here's the thing. This is the whole reason I'm preaching about this. When God has a position for somebody to fill, don't limit God in what vessel he uses. Because if he can use a woman to help defeat an army, in the past he can use a woman to preach down. And they're not the only ones who showed strength and courage as far as women. What about Queen Esther? Now, of course, she didn't take authority, but you stop to think about it. She put her life on the line, and what does a soldier do? A soldier puts their life on the line for others. A good soldier will not only put their life on the line for the government or for their leader, but they'll put their life on the line for the people as well. And that's what she did. She knew there was a chance she could have been killed. But still, she became a woman of great valor by choosing to protect those people, even if it meant her death. What about Mary, the mother of Jesus? And you say, what did she do? See, when they were talking, and when this prophet, I can't remember their names, was prophesying to her about her child, I believe she understood here. But as all parents, sometimes we don't want to hear it here. And even if we do, even if you're prepared for it, it still breaks your heart. So that's why I say you never can be prepared even if you're prepared. But yet she told the angel, be it unto me. And she sat there, and she could have prayed and begged and asked God, don't do this to me. Don't take my child from me. Don't break my heart like this. But she just thought about it and put it in her heart. See, here's the thing. Too many women in the Bible shows that they can have positions of leadership roles. That they prophesy, that they minister, that they preach, that they teach. It's all through the Bible. And there has been women sitting there putting their life on the line, just like they were men. See, here's the thing. I believe that in the household, the man should have authority over the woman. But don't ever mistake that for me saying that I don't believe women should have leadership or have authority. And I don't believe being a weaker vessel means you're weak. Some women can sit there and are just as strong as a man is. And I don't mean that physically. But strong in courage, strong in faith, strong in trusting the Lord. And I tell you right now, a woman can birth it out better than any man can. So don't limit God as to what vessel he uses. Because by some of the people's opinions about what women can do in the church, Deborah should have never went with Barak in that battle. And Jael should have never been in that tent by herself with that man. And should have never been the one who drove that nail through his temple. Because according to them, she'd have been the weaker vessel and therefore too weak to do it.